I work with a lot of women that increased muscle mass is a good thing. It's good for your metabolism, obviously. I think that women need to really understand as you get older, it's harder to build. I mean, we lose naturally muscle mass with time, especially if you're not working to maintain. So building muscle when you're in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, like that's critical to being physically able, you know, when you're in your 60s and 70s. So the percentage of women that you look at and are like, whoa, she's too muscular, in my mind, is so small. It should never be a fear for women. Women oftentimes have the goal of like, I want my arms to look cut. Like, well, you're gonna have to lose the layer on top of your arms for them to look cut. Your nutrition has to be dialed in, and you gotta build some muscle.
Yeah, so it's that combination that you teach.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hello friends, it's Mike Malto here. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. We're with my friend Sami Sweeney, who's been in the fitness industry for over 9 years. She's the owner of over 6 Pure Barre locations. I think in the Pure Barre business, you're the most successful franchise and biggest franchise out of like 300 or so.
We'll say biggest, yeah.
Which is really awesome. So over 1,300 classes are taught every month throughout the 7 locations. And
6 locations.
6 locations, I apologize. But Sami, you teach 18 classes a week.
Yes.
Okay, you see a lot of women come through here. So we want to pick her brain about how to build arms, really good glutes, legs, and talk about nutrition and mindset and all that. And I think a great launching place would be to talk about this idea that there's no biohack, there's no shortcut. Like people come to you like, oh, it's spring break, like I just want toned abs, like what can I do? But let's talk about this idea that fitness is really a lifestyle.
Yeah, so we see a lot of people and you see both ends of the spectrum where there's a lot of our clients that come in and they want the quick fix, right? They want to do a couple workouts and see results right away. And so I feel like I'm the biggest, messenger, we'll say, of it takes consistency. It takes a lot of hard work to see changes in your body. And there's really no end point with this, right? Like this is a lifestyle change, being healthy, being fit. You don't really achieve the goal. It's something that you have to continue to, progress at and work at to really like have continued fitness in your life.
And do you think some people are just intrinsically motivated like yourself? Like it's just inherent in you, or is it like from early childhood, like doing gymnastics? Like what is it that separates people that deviate from the quick fix and adopt this as a lifestyle? Is there a mindset strategy or?
For sure, right? So for myself, I always want to give what I have. I feel like I have this, it's not innate. I think I developed this over my childhood and then being a competitive gymnast, an athlete in my younger years, you start to see the value in movement and kind of the mental challenge that comes with physical movement, and also like the rewards that come with all of that. And so when you start to increase your endorphins and feel really good because of what you physically just achieved, that's just like a cycle, and it's a good cycle, and it's definitely something that I've experienced for years. And so it was in my college years that I started teaching fitness and realized that like, oh my gosh, other people don't have this. Like they haven't experienced this like incredible high that comes from moving your body and doing things that you didn't know you were capable of doing. So mindset for sure.
Yeah, and is it the idea that you're seeking constant improvement, or what do you think it is? I mean, if we were to like drill down, what separates that individual who's just intrinsically motivated, goes to gym, gets results, and continues to carry on, versus the person that is like every January they want to lose weight, then they fall off, and then every spring break they're back, right? And they kind of ebb and flow. What have you found any like characteristics or patterns in those different types of people?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on how bad they want that, right? And the goal has to be coming from a good place. So all too frequently I'll see the person that's like coming out of a divorce or a life change that's like, okay, this brought me to a low place, and that maybe won't be as sustainable. There has to be the shift in kind of how you look at it and like, what am I looking to accomplish? Those are the people that are going to be successful with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's talk about planning. So I know you plan ahead a lot. I watched some of the videos where you're interviewed online and things like that. So you're running this very busy business. I think you have how many? 54 teachers?
54 teachers, yes.
Which is incredible, right? So a lot of moving parts, like studios all over the city of Seattle. You're teaching 18 classes a week. So nutrition is key. And I know you're big on like planning ahead. So let's talk about like, what does Sunday look like? Are you like preparing your meals? Are you buying a bunch of food? Like how does this look like in your world?
So for me, so I'm recently pregnant. I'm 4 months pregnant.
Congrats.
And thank you so much. That's totally changed the game because I eat more, and like what I need has, when it comes to carbohydrates and like my protein intake, it's changed a little bit. But Sundays are definitely like that day to especially plan out the big meals. My husband and I are really good at prepping like whatever meats we're gonna have for the rest of the week, or at least for the next 5 days on Sunday. When I leave my house, and that can be as early as 5 a.m. throughout the week, I pack everything. So I put it all together. I eat a lot of protein. I eat a lot of hard-boiled eggs. I eat a lot of things that are just like easy to kind of consume on the go. So that takes some prep work.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
So are there any days where you're like, oh my gosh, I know I have to teach this class at like 5:30, but I am just exhausted. I'm tired, but you just power through no matter what?
Yes.
Yeah.
There are days like that for sure. And you do just power through it.
Just make it happen. Yeah. Have you found that people that exercise in the morning get better results than the evening, or?
No real correlation to success on that. I think it depends on your life and what works best for you. Really, you just got to figure out what makes sense.
Yeah.
My 6 a.m., my early morning clients tend to be a little more consistent, but I still have the very type A, organized schedulers who hit, the evening classes just fine too.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, I've noticed like people that work out in the morning are very consistent too. Like within my friends, are like, I don't miss a workout whether I'm on vacation or whatever. I'm up at 5:15, like I'm hitting it. So I think that's really interesting. But going back to nutrition, so we did a challenge like 3 years ago. Like we co-hosted this and so forth, which was really awesome. And we talked about like MCT oils and getting on real food and all that sort of stuff. And want to kind of hear what your feedback has been like with clients going on a low carb, kind of a higher fat diet, and personally maybe how has a ketogenic diet worked for you, and have you seen it successful in your clients?
Yeah, good question. So it's a hard thing to do when you're teaching group fitness, right? To fully educate the masses on what they should be eating. And that's something that we come across all the time, is that nutrition is such a huge component to your overall health, but I don't have the time or the resources to really give our clientele everything they need to be successful when it comes to nutrition.
Right.
So these challenges have been good. I do an umbrella approach for sure when it comes to like, here are some tools. Clean up your diet, eat real food, increase your protein. I think more often than not, when you have the dialogue, the discussion with clients about what they're eating, you find that they're not consuming protein like in the amount that they should be. So it's like, okay, try increasing your protein intake, even if it's just like something basic, like anywhere from like 60 to 100 grams, broad strokes. Try that, and I've seen success from that. Personally, I mean, I eat a very high protein diet, and when it comes to ketogenic, I mean, yeah, both my husband have tried that. It's a little tougher currently being pregnant. I've increased my carbohydrates for sure, and that just helps with energy overall. But I see the value in it. I just know when we've got a lot of clients, and you want people to stick with what you give them. So you want it to be basic and also manageable. And there are definitely like perfect diets out there, but we just can't really educate on that.
Right.
So
you're really advocating for real whole foods, high protein,
absolutely, yes.
lower carb, not processed food. And so that's kind of the model. And if they want to deviate and really get into the nuances of ketosis or whatever, that's fine.
Exactly.
But as long as people make that step in conjunction with exercise, people get results.
Exactly, yes. And I always encourage people, especially when we're doing these challenges and they're 6 weeks or 8 weeks, like why don't you try eliminating adding sugar, alcohol, grains, maybe take out grains for 8 weeks, it can't hurt you, dairy. So there's some basic like suggestions that I'll give, knowing that you can always incorporate that back in, but maybe see how you feel with a good 8 weeks of just totally cleaning up your diet and eliminating, processed foods. Like read your labels, know what those ingredients are that you're putting in your body.
Yeah, really awesome. All right, let's talk about the bulletproof coffee things. I know you've been doing that quite a bit. Have you noticed that like you can go longer without food, or do you crash less when you're training more?
Oh, I love the bulletproof like coffee approach. There are other things Dave Asprey's approaches that I'm not so into, but I think with bulletproof coffee, it's a easy way to get a little caffeine boost, to get some healthy fats like right away, and to not really be hungry for a good 4 or 5 hours into the day. I'm a super active person when it comes to like what my day looks like. I don't sit very often, so when my energy starts to crash, like I will need food. But definitely the bulletproof coffee like holds me over for a couple hours.
That's awesome. So so you get up really early, probably 4:30, 4:15, right? So you do the bulletproof coffee, teach a class, get into work, and then have breakfast kind of like afterwards? Like
so I'll teach a class or two. Get on my computer or run around, whatever, commute between the 6 studios, and then I'll have something on me that I can eat about 10 a.m.
Yeah. Okay. So hard-boiled eggs or something along those lines. Yeah. All right. So Sami, let's get into like the exercise, right? So let's talk what Pure Barre is. So what I gather, it's more isometric based, but it's kind of doing the whole body, right? So let's kind of dive into like what Pure Barre is and who is it good for, and then what are the applications?
Okay. So Pure Barre it's kind of a fusion of ballet conditioning meets like lightweight work, a lot of non-impact work, and a lot of like body weight movements. So it's musically based, it's fun. I think that's really at the end of the day, if you're not giving people a fun style of fitness, or they're so much less likely you're gonna stick with it. So anyways, it's a lot of non-impact, like you can think push-ups and planks and like body weight squats. We add some weight, not a lot of weight, but really good at like keeping your muscles under pressure for a sustained period of time. So instead of, doing low reps with high weight, this is, you think high rep with body weight.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So for people with mobility issues, injuries, or because a lot of folks like they hear about CrossFit or whatever, they go get injured, or they're intimidated by a traditional gym, right? So I think this is a nice, really good alternative for folks.
Absolutely. So that's one thing I love teaching with this kind of modality, is that you're giving people like the average person movements that they can do and feel comfortable doing.
Right. And then get results.
And get results. It's definitely physically challenging, and there's always ways to make it more challenging. I personally have been doing this for 8 years, and every class is still so tough.
That's awesome. Sami, well, I get a lot of questions on abs and glutes. Like girls want the booty, right? We get a lot, people that's like the thing right now that's in, right? Like glutes are greater than abs, but a lot of folks want like a 6-pack ab, right? And I know you do a lot of like core work within your classes, like before and after. So if you were to distill down, like what, obviously diet plays a key role, and we kind of talked about diet, right? But what are some of the top core movements or like modalities that people can really incorporate into their lifestyle to get not only a strong functional core, but like that chiseled midsection?
I think it always goes back to the basics, right? Like planking is so good for your midsection. When it comes to glutes, really making sure you're targeting the glutes from a lot of different angles. So, basic like lunging to different directions and like curtsy squats and things that get into not only like the glute, the maximus, the big glutes, but like the supporting muscles as well, I think is really key to that. And then making sure you're fatiguing your muscle. So you're getting to the point of like that lactic acid buildup, that like burning sensation. That's something that Pure Barre is so good at. But I think whatever you're doing, like making sure you're getting to a point of muscle fatigue where the muscle has to rebuild to get stronger.
So there's a little bit of hypertrophy going on with your classes. Got it. So we're like,
you gotta come take a class.
I would like to, yeah.
You got it,
So
there you go.
my wife Deanna's been, that's how you guys met. So she's been doing this for quite a while, which is really, and she does it at home too, and that's what's really cool. And I don't want to deviate. I want to like address this hypertrophy thing, but I think I'll forget it if I don't talk about it now. The power of community. And so obviously there's like DVDs. You've made a lot of DVDs through Pure Barre and on your own, like how to build sexy arms and shoulders and everything else, right? So theoretically, people could do all this at home. But there's something about community, and we see this with CrossFit and like at the gym, we see all the same people. So have you noticed that people kind of embrace that, like the community, participate in the challenges, like they get better results?
Oh, that's one of the keys to success within our 4 walls, is that people come in and they know people, that they're working out with, and they've seen them before, and there's almost this like accountability piece amongst like your peers that's there. And then of course knowing your teacher and knowing that I was able to do this yesterday, so I want to make sure that I do it today because my teacher is going to hold me accountable to doing that. That piece is really important too for people. But yeah, having, the enjoyment that comes from the social aspect of working out, and being around other people kind of makes you want to go back.
Yeah, and there's part of like almost an identity component with that. That I've noticed, like people identify with doing yoga or weightlifting or Pure Barre or whatever. Have you noticed that where they And then also that ties into that, the identity part, like sharing on social media. So have you found people are more successful when they're more active on social media? Like, I just did a class.
It's a good question.
You know, have you found that a correlation there?
I mean, that's when you start pulling all aspects of the lifestyle into it, where I'm eating healthy and I want my friends at Pure Barre to see that I've eaten this healthy meal. I mean, so frequently we see that. Or I'm tagging all of my friends at the Pure Barre studio because we all just worked out together and now we're gonna go get, green juice together afterwards. I think it just kind of adds this layer of like social acceptance and belonging to something that isn't, it's not your home life, it's not your work life, it's this third place I go and I feel good, with physical movement, but also that social support.
Yeah, and you feel connected, and then so like you said, you're accountable, so if you miss, then you're like missing out on your connections. I think that's it's a big missing link to fitness. Like we talk about like all this stuff, like how to do this exercise in your form and that's important, and all the nutrition, but this is like this intangible kind of thing that people need to really be participatory, and so I encourage all my clients to share on social media, like, hey, I just went to the gym, even if you're overweight or whatever, it doesn't matter, just by like putting that out there in the public kind of affects your subconscious mind, then you make better, more congruent decisions.
100%.
So, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to get your feedback. So you have, again, 1,300 classes a month with all the studios, which is really fantastic.
We're teaching a lot of classes.
A lot of data that we can pull from this.
And so often I hear from my clients that, whatever I was doing before this, it just didn't work because of that, because nobody was holding them accountable. I mean, you go to the gym and you have to know what your own workout's gonna be every time you go and hold yourself accountable to that. You're just so much more likely to fall off the wagon. So it's nice to be able to show up and know that like this person's gonna lead me through these movements that are good for me, that, are great for my posture and my core and all my major muscle groups. Like I'm gonna go and listen to them and do those things and then leave feeling better.
Awesome. Love it. All right, so we kind of took a little sidestep. Let's go back to like the nuts and bolts of lifting a little bit of movement. Cellulite on the back of the legs, a big concern for a lot of people. Right? What do we do there? Because a lot of folks this is like a,
Cellulite's a tough one, right? Because I think that so much of that is determined by genetics. Right, some women, I mean, they just are genetically more susceptible to having cellulite. But of course, keeping your body fat content at a healthy level is important to keeping your cellulite gone, and then keeping your muscle mass at a good level as well. The more muscle you have and the less body fat you have, you're gonna see that muscle, and you're not gonna see the lumpy cellulite that women try not to show.
So like hamstring curls on the ball, like what are some?
Absolutely. Okay. Oh yeah. So in Pure Barre we use a lot of resistance bands and different you can think like different weights in resistance bands to add intensity. And I mean, you do a lot of repetition of curling your hamstring or pushing, your entire leg up over and over again using just your glutes. That mind-body connection of like really getting into your muscle, it produces great results because you're firing from, the right muscle groups and not compensating. I think that's a great thing to teach people, but you're also seeing that muscle, like that area fatigue, and then in Pure Barre, we always stretch afterwards. So it's like you gain that strength, you build the strength, you fatigue the muscle, and then we'll immediately take them through a series of stretches to lengthen it back out.
That's really awesome. Yeah, you mentioned the bands, which they're right behind us, by the way.
Yeah, we got some bands back there.
Watching on the video, but it's really fun to see that because you're ahead of the curve. Like all of a sudden, a lot of weightlifting gyms now have exercise bands. It's like the new thing. It's like the new way to get a progression in. So what you guys have been doing for a while is really cutting edge. So congratulations.
Hey,
it's really awesome.
That's good.
Cool. Let's tackle the abs, right? I think we kind of talked about planks and other things, but dynamic movements, isometric movements, or the combination, and can we train them daily?
Yeah, Mike, yes. I mean, I believe that you can train your abs daily, and you do want to do a variety of movements. I mean, you've got layers upon layers of muscle that support your spine, and really targeting those muscles from like different angles and with different movements is so important. I think that, you think about like your kinetic chain and how it's all connected. We have to really like simulate some of the movements we do outside within our workouts to make sure that you're building that strength that keeps you healthy and safe in your movements outside of the gym. So abs especially, we have a huge chunk of our classes dedicated to strengthening, I'm not gonna say abs specifically, but like your entire core area. So it's very important.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of like foundational Pilates type movements built into what you do and what you teach, which is really good.
And a lot of that is body weight work, which I think you can accomplish so much just using your own body weight to strengthen through the midsection.
Which is key. So what about like preventing low back pain? A lot of people, I myself have low back pain, right? Have you seen a correlation between people when they first come in, might have anterior pelvic tilt, some hip low back issues, get the core tight, and then that kind of abates over time?
I mean, definitely strengthening your abs and your midsection helps with that low back pressure. Getting people moving, you know, just in general, I think so much of our society is practicing all these, you know, sedentary movement throughout the whole day. And so that's a bit of a scary factor here when you're like, okay, now we're gonna have you move really aggressively for an hour after you sat at your desk and behind your steering wheel for, you know, the last 9 hours. So it's good to have, I think that's where I look at other concepts and I go, you can't throw this person, you know, behind a couple heavy kettlebells and expect them to succeed knowing that that's what the rest of their day looked like, unless there's some real, you know, hands-on training going on there. So that's where Pure Barre uses, you know, you use like some real functional movement to strengthen so that you're building support around those areas that need to be supported.
Yeah, really key. So what do you do for abs and how often do you train them personally?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I obviously I take a lot of class and I think just a lot of like dynamic movement. Outside of Pure Barre, I do some weightlifting on my own because we don't lift heavy weights. I do think it's key when you're at a certain level of fitness, it's very important to add weight to challenge your muscle. And so I'll do that in addition to taking classes. And, you know, even if you just think like weighted, you know, walking lunges like that, you're having to stabilize with your midsection and just basic movements that are done properly, I think can accomplish that.
Awesome. So you have your clients get into, you know, really do the whole body, you know, movements with Pure Barre, like 3 to 4 days a week. Is that kind of like average?
We see the most success. Like when we run a challenge, the challenge is never to take Pure Barre 7 days a week. Like that's not what we're looking for. You're gonna burn out, you're not gonna ever wanna come back, and you know, you're gonna hate what you just spent your last 8 weeks doing. So 4 times a week I think is like optimal, and then I encourage some sort of either, you know, cardio intensive movement, because Pure Barre, I mean, we aren't a cardio class by any means. Or, you know, if you're ready to add weight and you know exactly how to weight train, then add that as well.
Now, would you want to, like, say someone wants to squat and deadlift and things like that, would they do it on an off day, or could they do it on the day that they do Pure Barre? Would that be too much?
I think I would suggest, depending on your level of fitness, of course, you could double. I do. Like, I can double up a weight training day with taking Pure Barre. I'm just very particular about splitting those 2 sessions up with some time and some recovery and some hydration, and you know, let your body like recover before you go into that next workout.
Right. And so for you in the strength training, we talk about transitioning a little bit to the gym, your personal routine. How many days a week are you lifting, and what does that look like?
Right now, two times a week, in addition to taking about 4 classes a week here. And you know, it looks like something different every time. I like adding, I like lifting, I like deadlifting, I like squatting with weight. I also like a lot of gymnastic inspired movement, because
handstand walks and things like that?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
But also like pull-ups and toe-to bars and things that are, you know, like core focus. So yeah.
Awesome.
That's fun.
And
for me.
so one day a week maybe do more lower body based, and then the other day would be like pull-ups and more upper body kind of thing spread out. Awesome. Okay, let's talk about arms. So you have a couple DVDs on arms you've taught for Pure Barre. What have you noticed, like with women, like bands, and then how many days a week, and then are triceps harder to like get toned compared to biceps?
I think in general, because I train a lot of women, right? Like men versus women, it's different. Females often come to me with not very strong upper bodies. And so it's a great piece of Pure Barre. Like we focus a lot on strengthening the upper body, but I think that women have to be very careful to you know, keep that a focus ongoing, especially just for postural reasons and all of that. Like you gotta have a strong upper body. So a lot of our movements are upper body focused and focused on like really fatiguing the biceps and the triceps and the shoulders. Triceps, largest muscle group in your arms. Like it takes a little bit more to fatigue the triceps, but we add weight for sure for the triceps. I mean, we use weights to burn them out, and we've seen some good success with that. I also think that lower body fat helps. Like women oftentimes have the goal of like, I want my arms to look cut. Like, well, you're gonna have to lose the layer on top of your arms for them to look cut. So there's that, there's always that. Your nutrition has to be dialed in, and you gotta build some muscle.
Yeah. So it's that combination that you teach.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Really important. So along those lines, because I think there's this notion in society amongst women that like they don't want to get too buff because they'll look too muscular in a cocktail dress, and that's not feminine. But have you ever seen one of your clients get too buff?
No, no, that's like absurd.
Yeah.
I just don't buy into that at all. I'm so like, I'm such a fan, I guess, of muscle development. And, something that we did recently is we at Pure Barre, Washington, my husband and I, invested in an in-body body composition machine. Cool. So you step up, are you familiar?
Yeah, which device was it?
So it is called InBody.
Okay, cool.
And you use like a bioimpedance measure of water weight, right? To figure out how much lean muscle mass you have, how much body fat you have, and overall body water you're holding on to. And that was just the coolest thing to bring on board. I mean, time consuming for sure, because I'm not a personal training coach, and so you get into these personal training type conversations, but the information tells you, okay, here's how much muscle mass I have, here's how much body fat I have, this is what, and then we measure it again at the end of our challenge, and to see that change based on your activity level. And it's a really good thing, I think, to teach women, men for sure as well, but I work with a lot of women, that increased muscle mass is a good thing. It's good for your metabolism, obviously. I think that women need to really understand, as you get older, it's harder to build. I mean, we lose naturally muscle mass with time, especially if you're not working to maintain. So building muscle when you're in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, like that's critical to being physically able, when you're in your 60s and 70s. So no, I don't believe the percentage of women that you look at and are like, whoa, she's too muscular, in my mind, is so small. It should never be a fear for women.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can put on muscle pretty well, but you've never been scared of...
No.
Yeah.
There's a point where, I'm short, I'm like 5'1" and petite, so when my quads start getting to a certain level of like muscle tone, I'll back off on lifting such heavy weights.
Right, squatting too heavy or something along those lines, right? Very interesting. That's a really good point that you bring up, like this idea that like to build your musculoskeletal system, like the foundation, so that as you go into older age, like you have something to lose and you still have functional health. Because if you wait until you're 50 or 60, it can become very challenging because the body's anabolic processes are not functioning that well at that age, right? So start any time, but for folks that are younger listening, like don't wait till later to like build this foundation, because there's so many metabolic attributes to muscle. So
no, you got age on your side. I mean, you might as well be hitting it really hard while you're in your 20s and 30s so that you can be strong later on.
Yeah, really good tips. Awesome, Sami. Well, before we go to a few final questions, did we cover everything? I mean, is there any tips or mindset tricks? I guess we didn't really talk about sleep. So you're getting up pretty early.
Yeah.
We know that iPhone and lights and blue light and all that is a big deal. What do you do like before you go to bed? I mean, are you turning out, because you're a business owner, you got all these studios, all these clients. How do you manage that work-life balance and trying to maintain your physique and cutting off, work times and whatnot?
So, I mean, I'll be the first to admit I'm not an expert on sleep. Like I have not mastered a healthy, some weeks I'd say like I do a great job of achieving, 6 to 8 hours of sleep, and I'm proud of that. But there are definitely times, as a business owner, having 107 employees, and we're open 7 days a week. So my phone, my gadgets can start going off at 3 a.m. because somebody's sick, and so it's really tough. That's actually a major challenge of my own, that protecting my sleep, protecting that time, like when I go to bed, to not be firing because my cell phone next to me is. It's definitely something I struggle with.
Okay, so let's say someone calls in sick to teach a 6 a.m. class or 5:30 class. Then you're called upon to do that. So that's why your phone needs to be on, because you need to jump in and triage.
Now, granted, we have, there's protocol on don't come to Sami first. Like I've got too many things on my plate to be effectively managing all of that. But if it's last minute, they know Sami's going to solve the problem. So, those are like 911 situations that you just have to, as a business owner, figure out how to resolve.
So that's got to be challenging. So you're going to bed. I mean, you're knowing that's a possibility.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, you're almost on call in a sense. I mean,
like
you're
always.
not. Yeah, that's
Yes,
got to be tough,
like
right?
always, yes.
So many people just have this structured 9 to 5, and it's really easy to plan their day and all this. But this is variable, like having all these different employees and all these different studios. So the fact that you're juggling all this, maintaining a great physique, high energy, that's really awesome. So I commend you for that.
Hey, thank you.
Really cool.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we covered a lot. But yeah, is there any just last minute tips, things that we didn't get to talk about that you find, like maybe successful habits, that you find maybe the attributes of people that really start from overweight, inactive, eating like crap, and then get to high level of fitness? Anything special about them that we didn't really address?
Okay, so one thing that always pops up when people are successful with their goals is that they're always setting new goals. So I think it's something I have to remind myself of too, like physically and with as a business owner, you're gonna hopefully achieve your goal, or you might come short, but then you've got to be on to the next and on to the next. And people, that finish a challenge, you can't just stop there. Like, it has to be already on your mind. Okay, the last day of that physical challenge is, this Sunday. Like, what am I doing on Monday morning to make sure, I'm still progressing? So continued goal setting and reassessing, like, what are you trying to achieve, and what measures, what actions are you taking to get there? It works in all aspects of life, but if you're always kind of reassessing that, you're gonna have so much more success when it comes to whatever it is. Because there's no start and stop point, especially with your physical fitness.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. So I think there's this Japanese proverb, like Kaizen, I believe. So it's always continuous improvement, always learning.
Yeah.
So it ties into that whole thing. So do you personally have fitness goals, like you write them down and you want to be at a certain? Okay. Even you've been doing this for 9 years as a professional, right? So
yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and and it will be around totally different things at different times, but and being pregnant has been a really cool challenge for me because I'm like limited with some movements, but I definitely I have these new, because of pregnancy, like some new fitness goals, things I really want to achieve before I'm carrying around another human.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's talk about your morning routine. So we know successful people tend to have a set of things that they do every day. We kind of talked about your morning routine a little bit, but share with us some of the details, like alarm wakes up, gets you up, what time is that? Then talk about the first couple hours.
Okay, so I'm definitely a morning person. I'm up early, not always as early as we just talked about, like 4:45 up until 6:45, somewhere in there, depending on when I need to be in the studios. I get up, I always drink a lot of water right away. I will do not necessarily bulletproof coffee every day, but I love coconut cream or some sort of healthy fat that I'll add to my coffee. Sometimes MCT oil, sometimes brain octane, whatever I'm feeling for the day. And then I'm out of my house pretty quickly. I try to hit my commute before traffic, and I'm in one of the studios, and you're on. That's the one thing about my job, my life, is that the second you walk in the doors, especially as a leader of so many, staff members, is that you are on, whether you're having a bad day, whether you didn't get enough sleep that night before, whatever it is, you've got to be awake, alert, and ready to fire.
To inspire other people too.
Totally.
You got to just, is there ever a time where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm tired, I didn't sleep well, I really don't want to talk to people right now, but you just put on your game face and make it work?
Oh my gosh, yes, and I do. That is something, I will pride myself on that. People do not know if I'm having a bad day. I will admit to being very sick my first trimester, very sick, doctor put me on Zofran for vomiting type sick, and I didn't get one of my classes covered.
Wow.
I taught all those classes, and if you fake it till you make it, and you turn on that energy, and I'm very much an extrovert, so once I'm around people, then my energy increases, and then you're good, you're set.
Yeah. Right. So it wouldn't have served you very well to just be at home by yourself.
Never.
You would have been gosh, I'm missing out. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
I gotta push through. It's funny you said fake it till you make it. So 50 Cent and a lot of famous artists, right, had talked about that. Where they come across to the public as being arrogant or overconfident, but they were just willing themselves to success because there was that small little back of their mind, am I an imposter, or am I really gonna make it, right? So fake it till you make it. I like that. So really good tip. All right, so you're going to be stranded on a desert island. Vitamin D and omega-3 is covered. What herb, nutrient, botanical, or food substance are you going to bring with you? Maybe it's protein, maybe it's a certain type of food, maybe it's just something that is very healthy that you feel most of your clients should have.
Okay. I would do right now, I'm taking this great protein that's got like greens in it as well. And it's like a clean protein. Garden of Life is a brand, and I like the flavor of it. I also like that it has like added greens. And so that is a supplement that I kind of swear by at this point in my life. So I take that with me knowing that that kind of covers all, like most major needs.
Awesome. Love it. So are you doing that in smoothies normally, like at home post-workout? Do you do whey as well?
I do whey.
Dairy? Okay.
I do, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, final question here, Sami. So if you were going to be stranded in an elevator with a politician.
An elevator, okay.
Yeah, and so a politician turned to you and said, Sami, you've been doing this fitness thing for a long time, encouraging a lot of women and helping women lose weight and so forth. What sort of lifestyle or health tip would you want me to know, maybe that I can influence policy around? So what comes to mind that, like, man, if we just cut sugar out of the diets, or if we just have people have standing desks, like, what sort of tip like that would you want them to share with them?
That it needs to start early. Education on movement and nutrition needs to start at like the very early years of development, so that people are starting to feel like the benefits of movement and healthy nutrition at a young age. That's very, especially as a parent to be. I think that there's so much that we could do with our education system when it comes to nutrition. Even you can leave fitness out of this, although that's a big piece as well, that we need to be kind of creating the right structure and policies around educating.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and there's a lot of temptation for parents and kids to gravitate, because they don't know any better, towards the junky foods and things like that. And so you'll notice as a parent, birthday parties and celebrations, you're like gonna cringe because there's so much, the temptation for the junk food, and the availability and the access is so high. So I think we do need a lot of that. So Sami, thanks so much for coming on. I really enjoyed chatting with you. Okay, so we have these 6 locations in the Washington area.
Yeah.
If folks want to connect with you guys online, how can they do that?
Oh, good question. So purebarre.com is our website. Pure Barre is Barre. So we're 6 locations in the Seattle, Bellevue, Eastside area. And then follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram is, I think it's great. And that's Pure Barre WA, WA for Washington. And then my own is Sami Sweeney.
Awesome. I'll put that in the description in the show notes, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have a question for Sami or myself, please type it in the comment bar below, and we'll catch you on the next video.